Radio Split Ranch.
Hello and welcome once again to Radio Split Ranch, a monthly visit with the Capital Region's great broadcasters of the past and sometimes present. I'm Warren Garling when I'm not on the radio. Is it me, or are radio veterans getting younger? Last month, we spoke with Jason Keller, who has some 30-plus years under his belt. This month, our guest has been at it for over 20 years, and here's what makes her a real vet. She's currently heard on 9 different radio stations daily across the country, including right here in Albany on 100.9 and 107.1 The Cat. Get ready for a fun conversation with the one and only Marissa. Haven't met this lady in person yet, but I'm looking forward to it because she sent me some air checks, and I think, whoa, I like listening to this young woman. And we're going to put her on pretend radio, as my old college buddy Pat he calls it. And I want to thank you, Marissa. Now, Marissa, I didn't ask you before I started. Do you release your last name, or do you just want to be Marissa on the radio? What do you want me to call you?
I mean, at this point, I don't think it really matters. If somebody comes and tries to stalk me, I have my ways of making that stop. So, no, it doesn't really matter. Marissa Lanchak, I've been around enough, and I'm such a Googleable search that if you just put in even Marissa on the radio, I think it pops up anyway.
There you go. So, have you ever used a full name on the radio?
No, honestly. I remember when I started, they wanted to give me a fake last name, and I was like, I was toying with certain things, and I never used anything on the air officially, but I was like, isn't there enough syllables in Marissa? And I don't know, there aren't many me's around. So it's worked for me thus far. So yeah. I think we're fine.
That's good. Hey, Cher, Madonna, Marissa, that all works. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm just not a diva.
Okay. Well, that's nice to hear. So let's start as we like to do in the beginning, and tell me where you're from, where you grew up, and that sort of thing.
Well, I'm right from the capital region of Albany, New York. I went to Shenendehowa, and my parents actually still live in the house I grew up in Waterford.
Wow.
I live not too far from them. I bought a house back 15 years ago, and this has always been home. So, wow. I moved to Boston for a 3-year stint. And, if there's any other place that has my heart, it's there. But
there you go. You don't know a lot about me, I'm sure, but I went to college in a small college called Graham Junior College in Kenmore Square in Boston. And
okay.
I was there for almost 2 years, and the best time of my life. It's a great town, especially when you're in college. It's a great town.
Well, I'll tell you, it was my poorest time, but it was also probably the time that I felt like my healthiest in body and mind. I did a lot of healing when I was there, and I think my confidence grew being there. And you don't realize the passion that is in that city until you are there for just more than a couple days, and you fall right in love with that passion, I think.
Absolutely.
If I could be back there in a heartbeat, I would.
Well, I, right out of college, tried to get work there, but at the time it was the number 6 market in the country, and they're not going to hire this long-haired, hippie-looking 19-year-old. So you went there a little later in life?
Yeah, honestly, my goal was never to really be outside of the Albany, New York market. Just kind of, I don't know, in my mind, I looked at things like I had one specific goal in mind, and that was that. And I ended up reaching that goal by, I think I was 23 maybe. And I was just kind of in that mindset of I'm happy, I'm home. I'm doing what I love.
Nice.
And I was on the station I grew up listening to, and that was really all I needed. But I do remember when I was in school, it was the first day we had to write down on our goal sheet what our goal was. And when I did, I remember my teacher looking at it going, there isn't any other market that could entice you. and I remember saying I don't know. If Boston came calling, I'd go.
Yeah.
And little did I realize I'd end up manifesting my future. But that's really was all I ever kind of wanted.
Yeah. But at the same time, when you look at what's happened to radio, you can be in other markets and still live here comfortably. And,
And I
as you're
am.
going, yes, we're
Yeah.
going to get to absolutely. Yeah. Well, for me, working in Boston would have been cool, but I had to, just deal with the closed circuit radio station that the college had, and that was fine. So it's still, Boston was still on the resume there because I went to school there. But anyway, well, good for you. You're very much like someone else that I don't know if he actually grew up in the area, but he never wanted to leave, and that's Don Weeks, who worked in this market for most of his life, and he'd been offered major market stuff because he was that kind of talent, and yet he said, "No, this is where my family is. This is where I want to raise them," and he stuck to it and had a great career here. So, if you want to follow in his footsteps, nothing wrong there.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being on the air here and in the studio, and we get phone calls from time to time of people just driving through the area asking, like, who are you? Like, what's your story? And like, coming from bigger markets and complimenting me and, hey,
Nice.
you have any interest in? And I just remember being like, yeah, no, I'm good. Like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
was just always just a happy kid being here.
Yep. Now, a friend of mine helped put together the radio station that they had at Shenendehowa many, many years ago. Was it still there when you were going to Shenendehowa? Did you get a start there, or how did it happen?
I didn't even realize that there was a radio station there. So I don't think, I don't think it was still in play when I went there. Not that I would have probably even attempted. I was like way too shy.
Oh, interesting.
I would get scared trying to even, do something in front of my friends. So I had to break out of that
Sure.
before that would, take over my life. But
yeah, sure. So where did the interest come from? What were you thinking of doing as you were in high school?
I said to my mom when I was 12 that I wanted to do radio.
Oh, interesting.
And I really had an aspiration to just like entertain as it was, but I was a very, very shy kid. So it's like I knew what I wanted to do. It was a matter of me getting out of my own way. And I focused and gravitated towards, we'll say what was easy for me, which was just art in general. So like I focused with an art degree in high school and then in college as well. And just, it was slow steps that I was trying to take to get myself to not be so dang shy. But my poor mom, I always tell this story. When I was 12 and I said that at the kitchen table, I very vividly remember saying like, I want to do that. And she laughed at me.
Oh, wow.
But my mom laughed because she knew, like, I hide behind her all the time. How am I going to get on a microphone and entertain people? Like, that's not going to happen.
Exactly.
She's very proud of me now. Don't worry.
Exactly. Well, I'm happy to hear that. Yeah. If you get a chance to listen to my interview with Tracy Egan, she was very much the same way. We went to high school together, and I didn't know until I came back from college that she had any interest in broadcasting. And her mother had to basically say the same thing to her. She said, well, hon, if you really want to do this, you're going to have to speak louder. She was kind of soft spoken, and so what she did, we wound up working together on stage at Burnt Hills, where we both went to school, and she wound up getting in a couple of plays, and that helped bring her out a little bit, and she was able to go on to a very successful career in radio and TV. Yeah.
When I have like bumped into people from high school and stuff since, they're like, I've listened to you for years. I can't, like, if somebody told me that was you and I couldn't Google it or whatever, I wouldn't have believed it.
Wow.
So yeah, it's nice that people have followed all this time and are shocked, but are also like pleasantly surprised. Like that, I think is probably one of the nicest things.
Well, I was kind of a wallflower myself through about 10th grade of high school. And then I started playing in my basement with my little radio station, and I started coming out of it. And by the time I was done with my junior year, I was on the radio before I even graduated high school. So, certainly, that helps and helps, lay the groundwork, just coming out of your shell, if you will. So where'd you wind up going to college?
Still local right here. I went to Hudson Valley. I'll say this, right? Like people are well aware of certain things that people have when it comes to learning now more than ever. Had somebody just checked to see and said, you know what, Marissa might be dyslexic. Maybe this is why. And she has a little bit of high anxiety when it comes to test taking. Like these things kind of held me back in school. Not that I was a bad student, but I did fail a lot of tests. I will freely admit that. Testing is not my thing. If you put me in what was like maybe a little bit of a slower paced class. I went from almost failing biology to having an A in chemistry. It was just a matter of getting in front of the right teachers and the right way of things were done. But I didn't feel like I was going to be able to be successful with having some sort of huge academic career. My goal was like, hey, let's go focus on art. Let's technically kind of focus on the backup plan, which was photography and art. And I went to Hudson Valley. A 2-year program there for art actually tends to be like 3 years because of all the studio classes. So I was there for about 3 years. And while I was there is when in my final like couple semesters, I had to make myself full time for the, scholarships or benefits, whatever I was getting.
Sure.
And I decided, I was like, let me try to take public speaking. Let's try to get myself out of being so scared.
Yeah.
And can I tell you, they wouldn't let me. They said it wasn't a part of my curriculum.
Oh, isn't that a bummer? Oh,
if anybody from Hudson Valley is listening right now,
yeah,
please note what I do for a living.
Yeah, there you go.
All I do is public speak. But I was like, all right, well, what's the next best thing? And it happened to be the thing that I wanted to do anyway, which was acting. And I took acting 1, I took acting 2, I took television production. I was in that realm of people where I heard about the radio school in town. And next thing you know, it's like I graduate from there. And I said to my parents, I really think that I want to try and like audition and see if I can get in. And my dad was like, well, if you audition and you get in and you get a job rather quickly, then, we'll pay for it.
Nice. So you went to the new school.
I did. And my dad had his foot right in his mouth because I was there for about a month and I got my first job.
There you go. Well, on a personal note, my youngest son also went to Hudson Valley for art. So now I have to ask you, if you don't mind giving away your approximate age, when were you there at Hudson Valley?
I was there. It was fall of 2001 to the beginning of like 2004.
Wow. You may have actually crossed paths at one time. He didn't finish, but he went there for at least a year and a half, if not 2 years. He had started at Junior College of Albany and then switched over. So who knows? And you may have passed each other in the hall or been in the same class or two. But
I'll admit I blocked out a lot of that time. But maybe I'd recognize him. Who knows?
Who knows? Well, good for you. So the new school, I taught there in the late 70s, early 80s with Tom Brownlee. Of course, it had grown quite exponentially over the years because when you went, it was probably more than the radio, right? It was radio and TV probably at the time?
Yeah, it was radio, TV, a little bit of video production stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. And who did you have there? What teachers might we recognize names of?
Tom Hahn.
Oh, absolutely. I've been trying to get in touch with Tom. I want to get him on this podcast so badly. He's just, he was a favorite of mine when I worked there as well. That's how long he was there, because he was there in the 70s, right on through the time you were there. Yeah.
And he was the one that first day of class, he was the one going, there isn't any other market that could entice you. But yeah, also Jam and Jim Steele. I had him for my teacher as well.
All right. I remember the name. Absolutely. Yeah. Very good. And so before you were even done there, you're only there a month or so. And did they help you find a gig or what happened?
Yeah, kind of. Like I had started, it was probably like mid to late August, and like conversations, I think, started over at FLY92 back. It was probably within like a month of the education. I think like I finally got in there by November, but I was in the afternoon class and I knew that Brian Cody was doing mornings as a teacher. And I knew that I wanted to be on FLY92, like that goal that I wrote down. I want to do afternoons and music director for Fly. That was it. That was the goal. And I would get there and I would make sure that he was gone before I would go into the back in the classroom, because it's not that I didn't want to meet him. It's that I didn't want to anger him by being there too early. So I didn't want to like rub anybody the wrong way.
Okay.
And here I was this one day, I thought there was nobody back in the classroom. And I went back there and there is Tom talking to Brian. And I was like, oh, crap. But then you've got Tom going, Brian, have you met Marissa yet? And that was the introduction. And he's like, you need to listen to some of her audio. And here I was like just figuring out what a break is.
Yeah.
And I play the audio or whatever, and he liked it, and he was like, hey, can you email that over to me so I can play it for my boss? I think this is something that he's going to want to hear. And it was John Fox at the time, and next thing I know, it's like the following week, my phone rings while I'm there at school, and it's John Fox wanting to meet me, and then the rest is kind of history. So
nice. What a great start. And to think of where you were just 2 or 3 years before that. Yeah, that's
exactly.
That is
not even
something.
2 or 3 years, Warren. It was more like 2 or 3 months.
Now I'm wondering, and this is something that I know is deep in me. I enjoyed the radio because it was just me in the studio. Now, obviously, you got, a jock before you and after you, and you got the news people and you got the salespeople coming in and out. But what I liked was the fact that I could be anonymous and be behind the microphone by myself, and I didn't have to address a crowd as far as I was concerned, which I got used to later because I did some TV later. But bottom line, do you think that had anything to do with the fact that you were able to overcome the shyness that you had?
Probably. I remember that first time that I was on the air, and just doing an overnight shift, and like everybody knew that I was going to be on. Anybody that was near me, like close to me, knew and was listening.
Yeah.
And for me, I didn't really understand that they were listening because I'm like, it's midnight. Nobody's going to be out right now, even though it's like a Friday night.
Yeah.
And I did my first break, and the phone lines lit up. And it was like one after the other after the other. It was my best friend. It was D. Scott from The Night Show, who had just been on before me, and he was hanging out with other people from the radio station. They're like, you sound so good.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was actually like cool and terrifying, I should say, because it was cool to have that support, but it was terrifying to understand, oh my God, if I screw up, everybody's going to hear it. And it was kind of one of those surreal moments because I always wanted it, but never thought I'd really get it. And then I was kind of like forcing myself to achieve it. So it was just like a nice little moment.
Well, you just reminded me of something I've got to ask my now 92-year-old mother about. And that is my first 2 nights on the air were also midnight to 6, midnight to 7, actually, the second night. And then,
oh my God.
exactly. It was, that was my first weekend, on the air. And then the following week, they hired me to do 3 to 7 afternoon drive. I'm 16 years old. Just craziness. But this is also over 55 years ago. Okay, so take that into consideration. But the bottom line is, you've just mentioned something I don't remember my mother or father ever saying that they listened to me at midnight that night. Although one of them must have, because they had to drive me. Because and so they must have still been up. One of them or both of them. I don't know how, I'm going to have to ask my mom what she remembers about that night. It's crazy, crazy. Yeah. So FLY, not a bad start. FLY at the time is a top 5 station, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I've just been very I don't know if lucky is the right word, but I feel lucky and privileged to have some fairly historic call letters on my resume. And it's starting there. And like kind of bouncing to another to go back there and get the dream gig. Again, like it just was such a powerhouse to me.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's a little bit of nostalgia from growing up here, but
sure.
it was just a fantastic way to start everything for me.
Well, there you go. Well, in my case, I didn't start working for the station that I grew up listening to, WTRY, until I left full-time radio and went just part-time. So it was like 20 years after I was a huge fan of the station, I'm finally on it, just part-time, but I was there. And that to me was just another feather in the cap. That's how I felt.
It was kind of like a full circle moment.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Well, there was a sign on the door at WTRY. This was back when it was 980 AM, and we broadcast from what we call the bunker. And there was a sign over the door that they had brought over from the studios that were actually started on 4th Street in Troy. And it said, through this door walked some of the greatest air talent of all time, something along those lines, And when I saw that above the door as I was going in, I said, well, I've arrived, even if I had already been in the business for, more than 20 years, but I'd arrived. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So how long were you at Fly at this point? Well, first of all, you did overnights, when you first got there. How did it proceed from there?
Well, I was working there from November of '04 to it was like June of '06.
Mm-hmm.
And I had been doing overnights, basically anything they'd throw at me. I was filling in for middays. I was doing all the events and all of that. And I was being mentored by, if you remember Candy and Potter in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
I was working really closely with Candy. And, she just happened to put in front of me one day and kind of enforced it. Hey, you need to send your demo to this opening at KQKQ out in Omaha, Nebraska. They're looking for middays and a music director. And I did not want to do it. And next thing I knew, I was flying out there to meet everybody. And it just, that is what turned into my first official full-time. And I had a goal in mind. Like this, you got to remember, like I grew up here in upstate New York. This is where my entire existence has been.
Sure.
Like I didn't go anywhere. There was no away for school sort of scenario. So this became like my away from home, like I'm going to college kind of moment.
Yeah.
And I had in my mind, like, hey, we're going to do this for 2 years, and we'll see how it goes. And, if it's just not working because it's just too far, then you pack it up, you come home.
Yeah.
And I was there and everything was going great. And the people were fantastic that I was working with. And I still keep in touch with them till this day, but I only made it 10 months and it was my choice. But I got out there and it was like all hell broke loose. Like it was just like the universe was, hey, you got to go back. Just giving an example, I was out there for just a couple months and my aunt and her boyfriend got killed in a motorcycle accident.
Oh.
And I had no money. I had nothing.
Sure.
Like I was just,
how
do I help my family? I can't fly home. I
Yeah.
can't take time off. I don't have health insurance yet. Like what's happening? So that was the first. And then my grandmother got incredibly sick and nobody knew what the heck was wrong with her. And I was just kind of at the point where here I was. I mean, if this is 2006, I was like 22, 23, like my hair was falling out because I was so stressed out.
Yeah.
And I just kind of decided one day, I got to rip the Band-Aid. I got to go home.
Yeah.
And that company, even my apartment complex manager, like everybody, this is how you know when you're making the right choice. All the pieces fell into place and everybody was so incredibly kind. Like when I sat down, like my boss wasn't there that day that I put my notice in. And I remember going in to the operations manager because I'm like, I need to do this today. I'm not waiting. I went into his office, I closed his door and I told him everything that had been going on. And he looked at me and he goes, Marissa, I can't believe you've been here this long.
Wow.
And I think I cried in his office that day because I was, he was just so nice. I was supposed to technically like retroactively pay them back whatever the moving costs were. And he said, don't worry about it.
Wow.
My apartment complex, I had a year lease and they found somebody to take it over.
Isn't that something? Yeah. Yeah.
And my mom found me an apartment here rather quickly. And I just kind of slipped right back in once I was back and I got home just in time for my grandmother to have surgery. We almost lost her twice. And can I tell you, that woman is still alive and kicking. She's going to be 94 in May.
Well, good for you. Yeah. Good for her. Yeah. That's terrific. Yeah. Well, at least there's a happy ending to that part of the story. Yeah.
Yeah,
good,
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
So you came back and, of course, I mean, did you immediately call people to say, I'm coming back? Is there anything available? Or did you wait till you got here? What'd you do?
Oddly enough, like behind the scenes, and I don't necessarily even know that a lot of people are aware of it, but like I had been doing little things for Fly for free while I was away. So I was like running their social media because social media was kind of new. And like, I think I had started it in the first place.
Cool.
I think they had at the time, if you remember the contest, the FLY92.3 Fugitive.
Okay.
I did the sketch for who was supposed to be wanted for the contest.
Okay.
I was still involved. And like I told you before, that was the dream, right? I never wanted to not be a part of what was going on once I had my foot in the door initially. And I had, reached out and just asked like, hey, I'm going to be coming home. I don't know if there is anything. And, they had actually offered me a little too late. I had come back at Christmas time that previous year, and they offered me middays, but you're not going to move me back. I don't have any money.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do that. So I knew that wasn't an opportunity at this point, but just to get back in some sort of way. And I don't know how quickly it happened. I can't remember, but I ended up on jams. I was this, little girl on a hip hop station, but, I made it work. And I weaseled my way back on Fly, and I was doing both of them part-time. I worked at a call center full-time, in between. And next thing I know, I heard that whoever was on in the afternoon, I think it was like technically like a morning show in the afternoon. It was like Rex and Smitty or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they were leaving. And I knew that one of them was also music director. And I was like, wait a minute. All right, I'm all in. Not only did I do everything I possibly could to get the job, but I had a sales rep at the same time who was trying desperately for me to get it too. And I mean, he was putting things in the program director's mailbox for me as like acting like me on a regular basis. And I was emailing the VP or the GM or whoever along with the PD every day saying, hey, this is what would happen on the show today. And, like just really going for it. And at one point I was sitting in the office with Kevin Callahan, and he goes, I have never seen anybody really go this hard and have this much passion. And they offered me the job, and it was afternoons. It was music director. It was everything that I wanted. That was November of 2007. And I had started November of 2004. So 3 years in, I had gotten my goal.
How about that? Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, that's, as I'm sure you've heard before, sometimes it's the right place, the right time, the right people. And, I once told somebody that I felt very lucky about my career, and they said, yeah, but you made your own luck. You were in the right place at the right time, talking to the right people. And that's experience. And that's, and so you can call it luck, but you set yourself up for it sometimes. And obviously
and that's
you
the thing,
have
right? So that's why I hesitate using the word lucky, because I've had people get mad at me for saying it
prior. Oh, yeah.
And I look at this, and people will say to you, you're going to look back and you're going to see why things happened the way they did. I can do it in the moment. I've been very aware that if something is put in front of you, there's a reason. And I've said it to people time and time again after I've followed that path and where it's led me, and seeing how there's been moments where I'm like, I lost it all. It's gone. And then it's like, well, wait. The universe is just shaking some things up. Hold on a second. Here I was. I didn't want to go in the back of that classroom, but then I did that one day, and boom, look what happened. Yeah. And then, here we were. I was working with Candy from Candy and Potter, and she forced that demo on me to Omaha. And that gig, even though I was only there for less than a year, is what gave me the music director, credits to then lead me to Fly in the dream job. And that spot is what truly I feel like has led me to then everything that came after.
Sure.
Because I treated that not like afternoons and not just like any basic show, but I wanted that to have a morning show vibe. I would have guests and I would do interviews all the time. And
nice.
I wanted it to be bigger than just, hey, you're tuning in for the ride home. And because of that, and because of, I think the personality I became because of it, it's allowed me opportunities in Boston and Detroit and like still working in Boston. And I don't take any of that for granted. That specifically was the absolute best time I can say in my career, but it was also what has set me up for so many really amazing things.
Yeah.
So, it could be me and you on the dance floor at Savannah's tonight, 1 South Pearl Street, downtown Albany for the 90s flashback party. However, if you're going to dance with me, please make sure I'm aware of it beforehand, okay? Unlike the guy last week. That was very, very awkward. I'm just saying. Here's the Jonas Brothers burning up on FLY92.3. It's Albany's #1 hit music station, FLY92.3. Marissa in the afternoon, 476-9200. So you heard about my wisdom teeth, because I've been complaining about them now for 2 weeks. What's up?
Marissa, when you get your wisdom teeth out, make sure you keep them.
Why?
I got my wisdom teeth out in 2002, and I begged my oral surgeon, because he was like, oh, we don't give teeth out and blah, blah, blah. I begged him. I'm like, they're my teeth. I'm like, I want them. So he gave me a little jar full of formaldehyde and clapped my 2 teeth in. And I still have them. The formaldehyde's gone, but I still have my teeth, so just make sure. I mean, come on, you're paying enough money for it, so you might as well keep the damn teeth, you know?
I know, but they've caused enough pain where I don't think I want to see them ever again. It's FLY92 1.3, Albany's #1 hit music station, the home of the FLY92 1.3 $5,000 Secret Superstars, which I know you are trying desperately to get, right?
I am trying desperately.
I totally get it. It's $5,000. Now tell me, if you win this, what are you going to put it towards?
Well, Christmas is coming up, and the bills need to be paid before I go Christmas shopping, so
That's true.
Need it a lot, and I'm a huge Black Friday shopper, so I really need it.
All right, well, you have just under an hour to go to YouTube and check out all the video clips or whatever the hell you have to do to get $5,000, okay?
All right, thank you.
So you're at Fly again in 07. And lead us through that. Who are some of the people you were working with back in 07?
Oh boy.
If you remember them.
So yeah, I mean, we didn't have a whole lot of turnover, which is really amazing. Like we had a lot of those same people in the same spots for a very long time.
Right.
And I think that doesn't happen a lot. And I think that's what made the time frame that I was there so incredibly special and important, not just for me, but like the listener.
Nice.
Because it's kind of like having your favorite TV show and all of a sudden it comes to an end. Like, you want to be able to go back and rewatch, and thankfully you can, but radio is a little different. But
sure.
We had Brian and Chrissy in the morning, and then Terry O'Donnell was in middays. I was doing afternoon drive. I had Sean Gilly was like a consistent guest because he was my traffic guy for the longest time. So that stands out to a lot of people. D. Scott was doing nights. Then we had Tanch. He's gone on to do some great major market stuff, and he's back on in the Capital Region now too, remotely. Bill Monty was at night. Allie Reed took over for Terry in middays, I think in 2011 or 12, and she's been there since.
Yeah.
But it was just a great crew. It felt like a family. It was really, really nice.
Nice. Yeah. No, you mentioned some great names there that are still plugging away and having a ball that we're still able to listen to. Yeah, that's terrific. So where does this all lead? Because I know you've got a lot of other call letters you sent me. So when does all that start happening? Are you still at Fly when all of a sudden you're noticing the life of a disc jockey changing in this country?
Honestly, no.
After that?
That shift was like probably a few years later, but I had been just like plugging along, doing my thing. I had no intention of leaving the market, no intention of leaving Fly. I can pride myself on saying that I was right to have that as a goal. I was wildly successful in that position. I was #1, I think, the entire time of the almost 10 years that I did it.
Nice.
And I only was gone because of a budget cut one day. And somebody just decided that they were going to make the same cut on every station in the building. And without really kind of taking into consideration the workload that I did and the pay that I got, but and the fact that we had just had the biggest ratings book in it was I don't know, it was like 18 years or something like that. It was a very, very big, we were #1 in the market, and I had a very big hand in that, controlling the music and all that too. So it was devastating, and I will freely admit that I grieved it like a death because, again, it was all I ever wanted, and it was taken from me for no real reason. I was so dead set that I was going to be there for good that I hadn't even saved any audio, and I couldn't even tell you how long.
Oh, wow.
I had nothing to work with.
Yeah.
And thankfully, my buddy was doing nights, and he saved like a good 2 weeks of my shows and sent them to me. And
nice.
I kind of worked with what I had. It didn't really need to be a big thing, but I felt like it was in the moment because I was just like, my world came to a crashing halt.
Sure.
But the same day I got let go, I had GNA blowing up my phone. So, it was like kind of a given that I was going to stay local. Did I really want to go country? Well, I'll go grab the boots, and they kind of, they were like dangling the carrot for a solid month before they actually got me on the air.
107.7 GNA, Albany's #1 for new country. So boxing champ Mike Tyson, rough, tough, tattoo-faced guy, claims that this movie, every time it comes on TV, he has to watch it. Guess what? It's The Notebook. What? 2 o'clock, pick me up with Shania on 107.7 GNA, Albany's #1 for new country. You want Cole Swindell Flatliner, which I'm doing right now just for you. What you got going on?
Thanks, Marissa. Actually, we're poolside.
Poolside? Oh, now you're just rubbing it in, girl.
Right now.
Oh, man, I'm so I'm sitting in here in AC, and I've got my sweatshirt on. I want to be out in the sun.
Oh, yeah, it's pretty nice out here.
Can I broadcast live from your house?
Sure.
Thompson Square. They were a part of last year's Country Fest, and we're gearing up for the next one with 107.7 GNA, Albany's #1 for new country. Teamed up with Dunkin' Donuts can get you in the front row. It's a matter of following them on Twitter. Dunkin' NICAP. Retweet any of their tweets using the hashtag DD Country Fest Sweepstakes. We can get you in the front row July 8th. It was a weird situation in general. You know, they probably should have moved their program director to middays if they really wanted to have a super impact and put me in afternoon drive considering. But, you know, you can't change the past.
Yeah.
But,
so what shift did you take?
I was in middays.
Okay.
And I know that they wanted to, you know, kind of have me doing some additional things, but if they weren't going to pay me, I wasn't going to do it. So I was the one that really was kind of the go-to anyway. And I was doing a lot of production when I was there, and I was doing a lot of writing of what people were hearing on the air. And I did a lot of the events, and, you know, in my time that I was there, you know, a lot of change happened. And that was actually when Brian and Chrissy had moved over from Fly, and people thought that I had something to do with it. I was like, yo, hey, don't get mad at me. I didn't do anything. I'm just over here existing and trying to just say silly things on the radio. That's it. It's not my fault. It was just such a weird time because they were just getting acclimated to country, and I was already acclimated, and the boss was too busy. So I got to do all sorts of stuff for a while before I became a budget cut there.
Yeah.
You know, it was we had Garth Brooks in town, but they didn't really know anything about Garth, and it was kind of weird to have them do anything with him. So I did all sorts of stuff with Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood. You know, it was all the different fairs and stuff. It was send Marissa here, send Marissa here. I'm like, I'll go. I'll make the money. It's fine.
They told some great stories. They're the first duo that I've interviewed on the podcast. Yeah. And they told some great stories as to all that, how that all happened from Fly to GNA and the audience's reactions, and it was a very interesting time in the market.
It was very interesting, especially behind the scenes, just because we knew how people were reacting, and I most certainly knew, and I was just, as all that was happening, I don't need to throw anybody under the bus, but I wasn't being treated very well, and it wasn't from them. And I was not happy, and I had been already looking, because I was at that point, if I got to get out of market, I got to get out of market. Or I'm getting out of radio, one or the other. Yeah. I know why I was kept as long as I was, because it was very obvious we had Country Fest coming up. And nobody said anything to me until 2 seconds before we're supposed to welcome the crowd. Hey, Marissa, you go up and do it.
Whoa.
And I was like, what? I was like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
And I think what they knew is just because of the way the audience had reacted, they didn't want to have a bad start to Country Fest, potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
And they knew that they weren't going to, freak out at me. Yeah. And I was like, but I don't, give me the sponsors. I don't have anything. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'll gladly do it. And I totally wung it. And I killed it, but this is awful to do to me for the 10th time in the last 3 months. What's happening? It was just it just felt like one punch after the other. And then it was a week or two later, I was gone. Budget cut. So, they just, at that point, when I told them that I didn't want to be promoted for no money, they didn't really want me around. So yeah. Just was what it was. That I will say was a downfall of my career.
Well, I'm glad you stuck with it, though, because a lot of people do, like me. I worked in radio for 17 years and never gotten fired. And when it happened, I was at a loss. I said, you know what? I don't think I want to continue this. I knew too much about the other stations in the market and who worked there. And I'd heard horror stories from a lot of my friends saying, you really don't want to work here, And so I went with a completely different career. And a year and a half or so later, I was back on part-time. But part-time's fun because you're not involved in any of the politics, So I enjoyed that for another 30 years, and, no big deal. Yeah. But at least you stuck with it. You knew what you loved to do. Had you ever given any thought to what else you might do if you didn't stay with radio?
That was what was really challenging, right? Because I don't really know what else I'm fit for.
Yeah.
And I was really forced to think about that during the pandemic, obviously. And that was probably the second lowest point, over the last 20 years, just because it's like I was at the top of my game and I had been just in like the biggest market of my career. And I was suddenly back in my childhood bedroom. And I was just like, I don't know how I got here, but other career, like I have a side business where I sell stuff on the internet, and like I've been doing eBay since I was in high school. And like I've grown up around flea markets and garage sales and like all that kind of stuff since I was like yay tall. And my dad's trained me well. I can kind of sell anything. So like that is something that I've like prided myself on for extra money over the course of my career. And I've been trying to grow that a little bit on the side where I have time. So that's probably like where I would venture out. It's not like the safest, but neither is radio. And but it brings me joy too.
Good.
Being able to find something cool that somebody else is going to love, and then you get to make money off of it. Like, cool. Yeah, give me.
Now, you're not the person on eBay that's trying to sell my old memoir for $3.95 when it sells for $9.95 on Amazon, are you? Okay. I just saw that recently. Every once in a while, I don't know if you do this, but you have to type your name into Google and just see where your name is.
Thankfully, I haven't found anything bad. So that's good.
I haven't either, but that's how I found out that my memoir that I wrote about 5 years ago was now being resold by somebody. And I knew it wasn't you because this was a signed copy that I had given them.
Oh,
and so obviously it means the world to them. And so now they're selling it for $3.95, So
they're like, I forgot who this guy is. Who is this schmuck?
Why did I want to read this in the first place? Exactly. Well, good for you that you've got a little bit of, and that you've got a little bit of that sales in you. I didn't know I had that in me. My dad was a salesman most of his life, and I never thought about the fact until many years later, well, when you're on the radio, you're kind of selling. You're not only selling yourself, but the radio station and sometimes for sponsors, So I wound up doing marketing and sales for many, many years, like another 17 years after I left radio. And so it's obviously, I think it's can be in the blood, and we've all got it in us if you got the right stuff to sell, Yeah, good for you.
And of course, the apple doesn't fall too far in either of our cases. So.
There you go. So after GNA, what goes on?
This is another thing that I pride myself on, right? So I lose Fly, immediately GNA is blown up my phone. I lose GNA, immediately I get a call from Boston within a couple of days. Like I will say this, being a music director, I made a lot of amazing, not relationships, I say friendships that are long lasting, that holidays hit, I'm messaging, my record reps that I had for years. And, if I headed out to Boston and say it was like I was there for just the night for a show or something, it's like they're all gathered together. Hey, let's all meet at this restaurant. And so whereas some people kind of will maybe, funny enough, one of them's calling me right now. It's like his ears must have been burning. But, it's like some people, they have these working relationships, but that's all it is. For me, it was never just that. So if I knew they had something going on, I was checking and calling, and they were my friends. Like they became part of my life.
Nice.
And the moment that they knew that I was down and out, without even checking in, they called people in Boston that they knew had opportunities.
Wow.
And were like, you got to have this girl. And next thing I knew, David Corey called up my phone and he wanted to have me in. And I had auditioned. They had a night show opening. And I was just kind of like, holy crap, like I gotta go. Like I gotta do this. Yeah. And so I auditioned for the night show. I come back home, whatever happens. And then next thing I know, it's like he's calling me again and he goes, hey, what are you doing the week of? And it was September or something. And he's like, I want you to fill in, our girl doing middays is going to be doing one of the, what is the company where they send the station out to like the Bahamas or whatever and do the live broadcast thing and, give away trips to the Bahamas, whatever. Right. And I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'm there. I didn't really think anything of it. Maybe he's just in a pinch. He needs somebody and he's going to put me up at a hotel. I'll bring my own food, whatever. I'm, out of work. I'm poor. and next thing I know, I'm there for 2 days and he introduces me to a couple different people that are important there. And they walked out. He walked back in. He goes, yeah, they're going to want you to sign something later today. And it was like right there. And I tried to negotiate a little bit, but it, wasn't exactly a big pull there, but I couldn't say no. I feel like that was one of the best and smartest choices I could have ever made. It was just such a really amazing time that I wish lasted longer, but my title was Night Show.
Thanks to Marissa on.
Hello, Country 1025.
Hi, what's going on?
I'm just pushing buttons and stuff, doing radio things. What are you up to?
Driving home from Kelly Square.
Yeah, what was going on there?
Lots of nonsense.
Nonsense sounds fun. Country 1025, Boston's hottest country. Carrie Underwood is so pregnant. How pregnant is she? I'm glad that you asked. She has skipped right over maternity clothes and gone right to the hubby's wardrobe. Why not? What were you saying, Nathan?
Hey, I follow you on Snapchat.
Well, maybe I should apologize then, because depending on the night and the caffeine intake, that thing gets weird.
I know, right?
Hey, speaking of being a millionaire, Country 1025, Boston's hottest country. Not exactly a millionaire, but we could get you some country cash, $1,000 5 times a day. And I love that at country1025.com, we have a countdown to your next time to enter a keyword. It's happening in 8 hours, 10 minutes, and 47, 46, 45, 44, 43 seconds. So, yeah, you can go and learn all the info that you need.
And they decided one day that they didn't want that spot anymore, because I don't know if you realize this about Boston, but they got some pretty big sports teams. They all play at night.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. When I went there, all of a sudden, I was no longer a Yankees fan. I was no longer a Knicks fan. All of a sudden, I'm following the Celtics and the Red Sox.
And you bleed green, man. You bleed green.
And I bleed green, and to this very day, and they're on tonight on Prime, and I'll be watching.
Yeah, against the Lakers. Let's go.
Yeah, you got it.
My studio, I just redid my studio here at home, and it's all Celtics, because I was like, I need to feel comfortable in my space. I need to feel like I am at home here. And my other home, like I said, is Boston. So if I'm going to be in Waterford, I'm going to be in Boston in my studio.
There you go. I like it. Yeah.
It's crazy because in my time there, the schedule would come out every month and you would think, oh, Marissa does the night show. She'll be on, 7 to midnight every night. And no, I think I did everybody else's show more than I did my own. I really did. My schedule was never the same. And if you went back into my history of Facebook and all the posts with different things that I would put up there, I had to keep telling people when I was on so they would know.
Oh, yeah.
And in fact, when they decided they didn't want the night show anymore, I was doing one of those broadcasts from the Bahamas because nobody else on the station wanted to do them, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And my boss loved me and he sent me there, and it wasn't his choice. He found out while I was there that they were getting rid of the position. And my last time on the air for Country 1025 in Boston was interviewing the spa while I was getting a massage.
Oh, jeez.
That's the last thing I did for them. I was like, well, if this is all I get, that's going out with a bang, I would say.
Well, at least you remember that part of your life where you were when you heard. That's just crazy.
Yep. The industry's funny, man.
Yeah. But did your friends come to your rescue again? What happened after the notice here?
Well, of course. So next thing you know, I will admit, I have Boston on the resume now. It's market 10. I held it successfully. I've got great, references. And I was going to be a little picky, a little bit more picky about where I was going to be next. I truly wanted to stay in Boston. That was the overall goal. I didn't know how I was going to make it happen, but I was going to try my hardest. I've told people, when you're in an industry like this, in anything now, especially, I feel like you have to work even harder to get to where you want to be. And I've always had that instilled in me. And that first week that I was out of work, I had sent out, I think it was somewhere around 200 emails with my demo to a variety of different markets that I thought that I would want to maybe be in at some point. And just introducing myself and telling my story in a really brief way and being like, hey, listen, I know you probably don't have a job, but I would just love even just to have your ear on this and give me some feedback. And if you hear of anything, please keep me in mind. Some of those emails get completely ignored. It's I had so many people reaching out being like, I have nothing, but man, you sound good. Or there was a job that hadn't even been posted yet in Pittsburgh, and they flew me out.
Wow.
And then I kind of realized, like, I don't think I want to be in Pittsburgh.
No,
No offense to Pittsburgh.
I think comparing Boston and Pittsburgh, there's not a lot of comparison.
I was like,
there, yeah.
I don't know, Mac Miller's from here, and he was pretty cool, but I don't think I want to be here. And so I turned that down. And, there was an opportunity that had been floating around where I was going to be part-time it was Entercom then.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's Odyssey. I was going to be doing Mix 104.1 part-time and fill-in, and there was an opportunity to be producer/third on the morning show at TIC in Hartford. And they also were like toying with the idea of me tracking nights for them at the same time. And I was like, I don't know if I'm a third, but I know that I don't do necessarily well in co-host sort of situations. I feel like I'm a lead. And I think it's because of the time I was at Fly for so long and interviewing people and running that show that's just instilled in me. So sometimes I have a hard time even understanding where I should talk. So being a third seemed a little challenging, but I was up for the challenge. And was it the ideal gig for me? Not necessarily, but in my mind, I kind of looked at it like, well, I'll show them what I can do. And I'm going to still have my foot in the door over at Entercom in Boston doing mix, but they were also going to have me doing part-time as well on one of the other stations that has flipped since then. And I was like, maybe I can weasel my way back in over there. I had already started part-time on mix, but I was offered the other stuff. It was March 3rd, 2020.
Oh, boy.
And I was simply waiting for paperwork to sign. And my apartment was packed, and I was like, it was being shown. I was simply just waiting, for the next step. And as COVID is like starting to ramp up, I went home one weekend bringing my parents toilet paper because like nobody could find anything here.
Exactly.
And I never went back.
Wow.
And I remember Steve Salahaney, who I love so very much. He's the big guy over there for Odyssey in Boston, and he runs the Hartford sector too. And, he called me, I think it was maybe a few days after things got shut down. And I swear to you, that man sounded like he was going to cry. He felt so awful telling me that the job was put on hold and that he could not guarantee that it was going to be back when things got back to, quote, normal. I said to him, I'm like, man, listen, it's okay. Like, you can't control what's happening in the world.
Oh,
like,
gosh.
I get it. And I said, it's not your fault. And we're good. I went back on my parents' couch and I went back to binge watching TV, not knowing if my career was going to ever happen again.
There you go.
It was incredibly weird. But that time in Boston is a very special time for me. I try to get back there as frequently as possible. And sometimes it's just like so challenging to not, like, I feel like I never have enough time when I'm there, because there's so much that I want to do or see or, get to the old spots that I would go to and check out the Celtics game, whatever. And next thing you know, it's like, oh, I got to go home.
Now, here's another spot in your life where it could have ended as far as radio is concerned. It actually did. It ended my career. I was let go because of budget cuts from iHeart in January of 2020. And by early March, I had been over at 100.5, the Magic gang, and they were ready to hire me part-time. And I thought, okay, this is cool. I'll do some weekends on Magic and all set. Same thing. Filled out all the paperwork. It was in a file. And then, boom, COVID hit, and it was all they wrote. I never went back, and I haven't been back. I do this now, pretend radio, as I told you, and it's fine. I'm over it. It took a while. It only took me about 60 years, but I'm over it, and I'm having a great time doing this and talking to folks like you. Yeah. So, how do you come out of this fun COVID period?
Well, I almost don't. So there's that. But so this was a hard time because I feel like, and it was hard for a lot of people, most people, I think, but we had similar experiences, but different at the same time, and some people were like drastically affected by it, like myself. And then others kept working through it and felt the impacts, but not fully. And, or the mental impact. And for me, I literally lost everything and I was back to ground zero. Like for about 6 months, I was in my childhood bedroom surrounded by my father's collectibles, like just wondering like, how the hell did I get back here? Like I'm painting and I'm playing basketball every day. And, just a couple months ago, I was on a stage outside of Fenway for a sold out street concert, getting a crowd to go crazy in Boston. So like, how am I here? Like it almost felt like none of it was real. That's where, you have that kind of imposter syndrome sort of take over. And, I did what I had to do during the pandemic. And right before that had really kicked off, like I was also thinking, and starting a life coaching business that I really don't do anymore, but was really helpful during the pandemic, not just for myself, but for others who really just needed somebody.
Yeah, good for you.
So I did that. I did paint a lot and my art degree finally came in handy and I made some money painting for people. And then by the fall, I needed something because my workers'
compensation.
I have workers' comp now, but that's a different story.
Yeah, right.
But I was getting all the out of work benefits or whatever, but it was going to be reconfigured because it had been a year.
Yeah.
And, because I had been out of work since October, not March, and I wasn't going to have enough money coming in. It was just as simple as that, because now at this point I had gotten back into the house I own here because I had been renting it out. And I was like, I got to do something. I had John Fox hitting me up. There was an opening in New York doing, I think, prep, but also something for their morning show. And I was like, dude, I just repainted my house and the world is so messed up. I don't want to move to New York and not be able to probably take my pets and then live in some little shack and not have a job in a month and like spend all the money I have. So I couldn't do that. And I had somebody from Miami reach out. I'm like, I can't. I had talked to a company here locally that does voice acting coaching. And, so that was kind of being tossed around. And I had applied at a number of other things that I thought would just be good because it would be basic, simple work of stocking or whatever for the holidays. And the teaching job got put on hold because COVID ramped up again. But then I got a job at one of the big box stores that will remain nameless just because of what I'm about to say, because I got injured pretty heavily there. And it was in my final week of work and it was misguided, mismanaged safety because we had somebody that wasn't on our team that was helping to try to finish up this project on time.
Oh boy.
And I had one of the big steel lumber grates that is like 55 pounds fall on my head. So I know now that had it happened even just slightly differently, I wouldn't be here. I had a pretty bad concussion. And now here we are like 5 years later, I'm dealing with like compression on my spine and stuff. So like I've been going to a chiropractor and whatever. But in that moment, I was probably like back at my absolute like mental lowest. How did I am not supposed to be breaking down cardboard and rolling it to the dumpster at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, how am I here? Like, how did this happen?
Sure.
I did end up getting the teaching job and that started that February in 21. And I only recently just let go of it. They were incredible over the last few years because it was the day that I actually started over at Voice Coaches in Albany that I had gotten an email from Mix 1041 in Boston saying, hey, can you check and see if you can log into your company email? Because if you can, I think somebody reinstated it and there might be a loophole here where we can use you because now I think you're an active employee again. And that's how things got kicked off for me, but like getting back out of the pandemic, so it's like I got my foot in over at Voice Coaches and I was kind of like keeping in the industry in a way.
Sure.
And they let me do it right here from home. Like they sent me a laptop, they sent me a microphone, and they just said, we need you.
And you work with
anybody.
You work with my good friend Tom Robinson, who I got.
Yeah, or Voice Coaches. Yeah.
Yep. And I don't know if my name ever came up, but I was there for 10 years just before you.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, maybe. I mean, like your name probably popped up. I'm like, first of all, I'm awful with names.
I was the marketing director there from 2007 to 2017, and I officially retired in 2018 after teaching for an extra year. And so I was there with David and Anna for a long time and enjoyed my time there. I've done a little bit of work for them in the meantime, but some of the best clients I currently have as a voice actor I got while I was working there. So
that's very cool.
Great great history.
Listen, it's a small world.
Yes, very small world, and yet I never heard your name, and you never really heard mine. So there you go.
Well, again, in my defense, your name may have come up multiple times, but I also just got done telling you I had a major concussion. So,
well, there you go. That's a good excuse. I like it. I like it. Well, that's good that you had that, that to fall back on. But while you're there, you get this offer. Now, where's that again?
This was just part-time. So this was with Mix 1041. They were the ones that I had been kind of getting things going with in Boston when the pandemic happened. Right. And, they did feel awful that knowing that I was supposed to get hired full-time, within the company, and then everything happened the way it did. The moment they could bring me back, they did. And again, they sent me stuff so I could do it from home.
Mix 1041, Boston's best variety. I'm Marissa. Good morning. Erin is taking the day. She's kicking off her weekend just a little bit early, and I'm sure you're jealous about that. But before you kick yours off, we need to get you some more tickets. Tickets on the 20s back at 11:20. Jonas Brothers tickets could be yours. Right now, we're commercial free. Speaking of being back, have you seen Love is Blind is back on Netflix? It's a big old reunion. And there's lots of drama. It's so good. It's Mix 1041. We are commercial free on Mix 1041. Hey. Whatever you do, don't get distracted. Set an alarm. Your tickets on the 20s coming back up here on Mix 1041 at 11:20. Jonas Brothers tickets could be yours. Mix 1041, Boston's best variety. I just heard from Kenzie in Westboro on IG, and she is looking for some Miley Cyrus. So I'm going to make that happen after Maroon 5. This is Memories, Mix 1041.
And they were the first of anybody to bring me on. And, I had somebody else reach out not too long after, and they were just like, hey, could you? And I was like, I don't know. And I reached out to Mike Mullaney, and I was like, hey, so somebody else is asking if I could do some tracking from home. And I just didn't know if I could. Because, think about it. All these other times I've been with different companies, it's been a no-go. It's been frowned upon. Yeah. And in this case, he looked at me and he was just, if it's not in our market, I don't care. I was like, wait a minute. Are you saying I can build on this? Wow. Really?
Yeah.
And it was Boston, then it was Burlington, Vermont, then it was Syracuse, then it was Kentucky, then it was Wilmington, North Carolina, and so on and so forth. And I have been, again, I don't want to use the word lucky, but, I feel very lucky in the way of what felt like things were coming too easy as I was getting texts and calls and whatever. I realized it at that point was about 18 years of incredibly hard work building relationships and proving myself. Exactly. And it has paid off in a way that I never, ever once thought could be possible. I mean, to the point where my boss in Boston over at the country station, David Corey, he at one point was in Detroit, and I was just supposed to, he wanted me there full time, and I couldn't for a number of reasons, but he had me filling in. And next thing I knew, I had jumped the ratings in middays from 11th to 4th. And he's going you're not going anywhere. And I was on that station 7 days a week, and he had me also on the pop station there as well, DVD. And up until the station just randomly got sold one day in the rebuild process. So it's been a very interesting ride these last few years.
I'm not going to ask you a question that if we hadn't met, I wouldn't have come to me. But I was going to say, how do you handle the different formats? But I've listened to the air checks that you sent me that we're going to include here in post-production. And you just are an entertainer. The music is certainly important to the folks that are listening, but what you're doing in between can be done, in any format, and it still makes sense, and you still sound engaging. And I just got to compliment you on that. You just sound terrific on everything I've heard.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. People have seen the workload that I have, and currently I am on 9 different stations a day, Monday through Friday. 1049 KVL. Hey there, Knoxville. You have no idea how excited I am to be with you right now. My name is Marissa. Let's get to know each other this afternoon. Gaga, this is Bad Romance, 1049 KVL. Got that perfect summer day going on right about now.
Hold up, Pooh. Stop this, man.
I don't know what I'm thinking about.
And the perfect music, too. 90s and 2000 throwbacks only on 104.9 KVL. 104.9 KVL, 90s and 2000s throwbacks. Now, I don't know what you got going on tomorrow afternoon. Maybe you can skirt out of work a little early, but we're going to be at Boost Mobile, Maryville, right off West Broadway Ave, starting at 3 o'clock. Zips Car Wash gift cards, some great KVL gear. Maybe you can save some money, too. It's 104.9 KVL. Bone Thugs and Harmony on 104.9 KVL, 90s and 2000s throwbacks. You might be like, who the heck are you? And you know what? Rightfully so. My name is Marissa, brand new to KVL, brand new to Knoxville. And a couple of things maybe you want to know. Like I am a big boy band lover. I have pets. I love pets. And I'm not new to doing this. We're going to have a party each and every afternoon. So I hope that you're ready. It's also like it's Professional Speakers Day. I've been told, quote, I am a professional. Doesn't always sound that way. But hey, it's an excuse to have cake. So let's do it. And let's have some fun this afternoon. I've got more coming up. It's 104.9 KVL. I think what's important for people to understand, first of all, not everybody can do it. And I'm well aware of that. My mind works different. And I know that. I thrive and I do my best when I have a lot on my plate. I am a very organized person. And I think that even as I was getting started in working this way, I knew what to look for. I know what they're going to be engaged with. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say that I'm a silly person, but I think I'm a silly person. So I think my sarcasm's relatable. I think, yes, I'm doing multiple formats, but what's so important to understand is that most of those formats, the demographic is relatively the same.
True.
And interchangeable. And they are all talking about a lot of the same stuff. And true. If it's relatable stuff, then it's relatable overall.
It's true.
And you know, so it's like if I do one joke on, you know, Triple X in Burlington, I can probably do the same joke on the dude in Wilmington, North Carolina, that I can do on the same joke in Albany on the cat. Like, you know, so it's just a matter of understanding what connects and is it worth it? Like, you know, and in some cases, you know, it's like I also am just like very market specific too. It's finding the right local to talk about because the local is probably more important than anything.
It is. Absolutely.
You know, local and just like allowing yourself to be relatable. You know, that was one of the things that when I was in school, I kind of molded myself based on, I mean, my own personality, obviously, but a couple of people that I really enjoyed listening to. And I felt like people in general enjoyed listening to because it was just a person talking. Like it wasn't a cookie cutter liner jock, as one might say, you know? And so I wanted to be able to be that person that could be myself and be sarcastic and be kind of silly, but also be able to talk about kind of anything and make it entertaining.
Sure.
And,
I'm going to interrupt you for just a second here because I want to make sure that you understand, like I learned very early on in radio. I used to listen to a guy in this market. I'm sure you've heard the name, Boom Boom Brannigan. We grew up with him in the 50s, 60s, and into the 70s. And I realized after listening to him for many years, he saved some of those jokes and would use them again a year and a half, 2 years later, and nobody was the wiser. Well, I started doing that. And if you go back and listen to some of my air checks over the years, you'll hear me say something in 1978 that I used again in 1998. You know, I mean,
right.
So I hope you're saving some of the real good lines, okay?
I don't know, man. Listen, I had a concussion. Like, I don't remember anything anymore. Like, what's your name? What's happening?
Exactly. Who am I talking to? Oh, wow. I tell you, what a career, and it's still thriving, which is so great. And I also want to tell you, it's very hard to pinpoint your age from your voice, and that's certainly an advantage in this business. Yeah. No, you sound to me like you would appeal to everybody from 12 to 65, no problem. So, I mean, that's certainly working to your advantage as well, Marissa. I just can't thank you enough for telling these stories and sharing your path with us. You're the first person that I'm talking to whose career, better than 20 years worth is of of the modern age, if you will, okay? Because you came in and voice tracking was already happening, and in some places, and this is how you're now running your career and are able to work for so many stations and still be in your green studio there in your home. That's pretty sharp.
Yeah, it is green because go Celtics. The most challenging thing I'll just point out though, because I think for so many, they're like, I don't understand how you do it, but they also think that I make it look easy. The most challenging thing is being your own engineer.
Yes.
And I have many people that I can pick their brains and people that have helped over time with a variety of stations, but it's usually on a one station basis where it's like, as an example, I just finally set up a Rodecaster board and I didn't know how to make it work on certain things because, as an example, like I would go and it would sound fine on almost everything, except then I'd be on this one station in Next Gen and it was making it sound like I was on a live broadcast from like 2000. And I'm just like, why do I sound so awful, like so tinny or whatever? And it was just like understanding that, it's like kind of losing the quality of your audio because it's set at a different rate or, and I like, those aren't things that I'm necessarily going to know. I was always the Miss Fix-It, at Albany Broadcasting when I was there in person. And that board, for whatever reason, I was the only one that knew the ins and outs outside of the engineers. But being on my own and just having so much to juggle, my brain hurts trying to figure it out sometimes. So, anybody that is thinking, hey, I need to do what she's doing, just understand that there's a number of things that come along with it that are much different than the normal way of doing things. But it has been definitely very... I'm very, happy with the way life is taking the turn, though.
Very good. Well, you're talking to the guy who's been erasing important things and irreplaceable things since 1972. I'll tell you some stories sometime, including, I think, at least 3 times on this podcast where before I could edit it, I'd lose it. It's gone.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and a whole hour has to be redone. And luckily, all 3 people that I did it to were available to do it again. But, that's how, I am with electronics and all that stuff. Well, I'll tell you what, Marissa, from now on, when I look at my Larry Bird card here that I have above my desk from 1992 about his career of number 33, I will think of you, okay? Because
Please do.
This is the only green that I have in this actual room, but like you say, I do bleed it. Well, again, Marissa, thank you so much. This has been a real kick getting to know you and getting to find out that we not only have some mutual friends, but we actually worked for some mutual companies along the way. So it's been a pleasure. And we're going to get you on the list for the Louis Lunch. If you haven't heard about it, it's radio veterans and TV veterans in this market that get together every other month for a lunch. And I'll make sure that you know all about the next one that's coming up. And, perhaps you'll find a time in your busy schedule to spend an hour at lunch with a bunch of old fogies and some younger fogies, too, that have now joined us. But
for sure, I would love to.
All right, sounds good. Thank you very much. Enjoy your holiday season. And remember, work isn't everything, everything in moderation, of course, including moderation. And I hope we get a chance to talk in person soon.
Yeah, definitely. Whenever you need, I'm right here.
Radio Split Ranch.
I've always found it interesting how many mutual friends my guests and I have. It was actually former Capital Region radio veteran John Knott who suggested I catch up with Marissa this month, and I'm so glad that he did. I can see now the business I've retired from is in very capable hands. Voice, whatever. Time for our final time travel of the year. We're headed back to my first go-round at WTRY when it was still AM only at 980. This is one of the 4 years of Saturday mornings I did live when radio was still offering news every half hour, weather twice an hour. My cohort was public television veteran Nancy Machold, who went by Nancy Mac when she did news for a while on the Great 98. We get into a lot of political asides after each newscast, picking on the very pickable George Bush, the first, and Dan Quayle, hopefully the last. Enjoy this memory from November 17th, 1990, when WTRY was celebrating its 50th anniversary on the air. Hope to catch you again next month. Until then, don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened.
WTRY, the oldie station.
Good morning. We're 5 minutes after 6 o'clock. I'm Chris. We're going to hang from your earlobe until 10 o'clock this morning. Thanks for joining us. Here's Bob Lind and that elusive butterfly. The Drifters on 98 WTRY, the first and official oldie station, the great 98, with There Goes My Baby. She probably just disappeared right into the fog. Ooh, look out this morning. It is patchy and it is thick in spots, so look out. 10 minutes after 6 o'clock on a Saturday morning. Started out, as you remember, with Bob Lind. You remember that about 2.5 minutes ago? Yeah, I thought you might. 98 WTRY, where, let's see, tomorrow night, Capital District Hall of Fame. You know about that. The spotlights on the hits of Dionne Warwick. She had a lot of great ones. It's Dr. Music himself, Lou DiPrano, for all your requests and dedications and the greatest music of all time on the Capital District's first and official oldie station, 98 WTRY.
It starts with a voice, if you will.
WTRY with Newswatch 98 on the hour, a 24-hour service for the Capital District from the oldie station, 98 WTRY. Celebrating 50 years, the oldie station, 98 WTRY. What a foursome, wow. Strawberry Alarm Clock, 67, Incense and Peppermints. Rascals before that from 66, some good lovin'. Archie spent quite a few weeks, I think like 9 weeks at number one back in 1969 with Sugar Sugar, and the Byrds started us out with Mr. Tambourine Man from 65. You got it all on the original oldie station, 98 WTRY, 623 Saturday morning, and I've got another 4, maybe 5 in a row. We'll try to squeeze 5 in anyway. Coming up with another WTRY Gold Rush, including the Beach Boys, Jay and the Americans, and the Classics 4. Stand by.
See Sunday.
Here's the WTRY Weather Watch forecast. According to TV13 meteorologist Bob Kovacic, cloudy, 51 and rain, and some patchy ground fog. Be careful at Weather Watch 98 WTRY.
WTRY's Gold Rush means more oldies back to back. The oldie station.
The oldie station, 98 WTRY, the great 98 with the Classics 4, Every Day With You Girl, back in 1969. Same year was Jay and the Americans' big hit, This Magic Moment. Also heard from the Beach Boys from 64. And Bobby V, The Night Has 1,000 Eyes. I hope they have some fog lamps, too. It is patchy ground fog out there. And about, 51 degrees? All right, rain falling. Please drive carefully. Allow yourself a little extra time this morning. There was one point coming down WTRY Road to get to the studio this morning that you really literally could not see in front of you. And luckily, my car knows the way.
How goes the budget?
The oldie station, 98 WTRY. Remember the American Breed? Their big hit was Bend Me, Shape Me, but that was their first hit. Got into the top 40 anyway. And that was, no, we don't need the next one. Thank you very much. That was music from the American Breed, 1967. Make it 15 now before 7 o'clock. Before that, we heard from Buddy Holly, 1957. Peggy Sue. She was right here a few moments ago.
Every day, people from...
98 WTRY, the first and official oldie station with the last top 40 hit for the Dave Clark 5 back in 1967. That, unless they come back, I guess. And You Must Have Been a Beautiful Baby, an oldie redone. Dave Clark 5, and of course the Beatles before that, a British double play, if you will. We heard If I Fell, classic. On the oldie station, 98 WTRY, 8 before 7 o'clock with Chris. We are proud to be the official radio station for the New York Run for 92. That's a statewide torch run to support Olympic winter sports. And if you'd like to contribute a $35 pledge, you have a chance to carry the Olympic torch and receive a USA Run for 92 t-shirt and commemorative Olympic pin. For more info, you can call 1-800-772-1992 or give me a call here at 476-WTRY.
Be the best.
Thank you. There's the WTRY Weather Watch forecast right there in front of me from TV13 meteorologist Bob Kovacic, so I think I'll read it. Clouds scattered now. Rain, fog, 51 at Weather Watch 98 WTRY.
The oldie station, WTRY.
I'm Nancy Mack for Newswatch 98, a service of WTRY for the Capital District.
Hi, Nancy Mack.
Good morning, Chris. How are you today?
I'm doing fine. Yourself?
You must be happy that the Celtics won last night.
Yes, always good to see them winning. They're doing very well, doing better than Lakers are, which doesn't thrill my 12-year-old too much, but We're on opposite ends when it comes to baseball and basketball.
Obviously.
Football, we have the same.
Completely different coast.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. And football, we were on the same coast. We're in the same stadium. He likes the Giants, and I like the Giants. So that's about the only time we get along at all, actually, is during the football season. I was just looking at the highlights of today in history, as I do every Saturday. It's my hobby every Saturday, besides being here with you on the radio. But in 1973, here's one you'll remember. President Richard M. Nixon, you remember him. He told the AP managing editors in Orlando, Florida, that, quote, people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I am not a crook, is what he said. That's a quote.
That was in 1973. What did he say in 1974?
Yes. We won't get into that right now. But you did hear, after he said that, there was this little voice in the back of the room that said,
Very interesting, but stupid.
Chris Warren. WTRY, the oldie station.
It's TWO. It's 7 minutes after 7 o'clock. 7:07, Saturday morning with Chris. I think the rain seeped through my hair and my head or something. DJ Thomas on the first and official oldie station, the great 98 WTRY. And I'm so lonesome I could cry. The Hank Williams tune he took to the top in 1966. Ronettes before that, Be My Baby from 63. Hope you will be at least till 10 o'clock this morning. Thanks for joining us. 13 after 7, 7:13, 98 WTRY. We're Monday. John Gabriel counts down the top 10 hits for November 19th, 1965. It's the WTRY Hall of Fame. And if you're from the high school graduating class of 65, be listening for your chance to win another great prize. That's the WTRY Hall of Fame, weekdays on the lunch hour from the first and official oldie station, 98 WTRY.
Dusty Lenscap here for the...
Yesterday's favorites are on the oldie station, 98 WTRY. Herman's Hermits. The oldie station, 98 WTRY, celebrating 50 years with some of the great stuff from the 60s right there. Herman's Hermits, Mrs. Brown, you've got a lovely daughter. From 64 before that, Baby, I Need Your Lovin', 4 tops. Now, 7:21 on a Saturday morning, 51. And it looks like the rain has let up a little bit as I look over our newly paved parking lot at WTRY. Yes, it looks just lovely. What I want to know is they put a little edge, you know how they put a little curb in the driveway. They've done that coming down. I want to know how long that's going to last once the snow plows start this year. That's what I want.
People from coast...
Light footsteps and reluctantly lowered my cup.
Mom, I'm home.
Oh, is that my cue? All right, you got it. WTRY Weather Watch 98 forecast. I heard the kids yelling, Mom, I'm home. I thought I was back in my bedroom here somewhere. WTRY Weather Watch 98 forecast. Sunny weather for tomorrow, high 43. Maybe we can get the rest of the leaves off the lawn. 51 and rain now at Weather Watch 98 WTRY.
Remember WTRY, your favorite oldies.
98, a service of WTRY for the Capital District.
Thank you, Nancy. I want to also thank you. You bring in the front page of the newspaper for me.
I hear you
Saturday
reading
morning.
it. If I couldn't see you were reading it, I can hear you reading.
Hear me reading it? Well, I really should speak a little lower when I'm doing that. But I'm always interested when you pick up the paper in the morning, especially the Times Union, the front page stories. We got story on Saddam Hussein here. We got President Bush overseas. We got oil prices below $30 a barrel. We got Trump and his Taj Mahal. Oh, wait a second now. Oh. Here's a rare white M&M on the front page. Now, that's front page news if I've ever seen it.
Chris Warren. WTRY, the oldie station.
Good morning. It's 7:36. I'm Chris, and we're just having a good time on a Saturday morning, despite the weather. Till 10 o'clock this morning, we're hanging from your earlobe. Got a great one from the Beach Boys next. Jay and the Americans, only in America. You hear the first and official oldie station, the great 98 WTRY. 1963 for that one. 66 for the Beach Boys, Good Vibrations, a classic. 18 before 8. At 7:42 already on a Saturday morning with already. You probably just got up 5 minutes ago, right? Hey, I've been up since about 4:45 and awake for at least 20 minutes now. 98 WTRY, the first and official oldie station, the great 98, with music from the Beatles. Hello, goodbye, about how I feel this morning. Not sure if I'm coming or going. Turtles before that, 1968, and Eleanor. Gee, I think you're swell. 9:30 before 8 o'clock. Yeah, 7:50 on a Saturday morning with Chris at 98 WTRY, where tomorrow morning, as always, we go cruising America with Cousin Brucey. This week we'll hear from members of the Searchers, REO Speedwagon, and actress Meryl Streep, along with others, I'm sure. It's great memories and the best music ever made. With my friend Cousin Brucey, cruising America, tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock on the oldie station, 98 WTRY.
One man.
Sounds like one of my jokes. The WTRY Weather Watch forecast, according to TV 13 meteorologist Bob Kovacic. Class 3 right now, rain and 51 at Weather Watch 98 WTRY.
The oldie station, the station you grew up with, 98 TRY.
Chicago and those old days that you hear and remember about all the time. Listening to 98 WTRY. Remember when we were grooving together back in 1967? Rascals before Nancy Mac News.
WTRY for the Capital District.
So the president is out of the country.
Yes, he is.
You know what that means, don't you? Dan Quayle is in charge, folks.
Are we having quail for Thanksgiving dinner?
Yeah, well, I think it is appropriate that Dan is for the next 8 days, is really kind of acting president here because it is Turkey Week. Yeah, it is.
Chris Warren. WTRY, the oldie station. Pretty eyes of
The first and official oldie station, the great 98 WTRY with Billy J. Kramer and the Dakotas, 1964, the beginning of the British invasion. That's bad to me. 4 seasons before that same year on this side of the Atlantic, Dawn. And about, 12 minutes after 8, 8:12, Saturday morning with Chris, where tonight it's Dick Bartley's original rock and roll oldie show with a spotlight on the best of the Lovin' Spoonful, plus all your favorites because you call them in toll-free, 1-800-LIVE-GOLD. That's tonight, 7 o'clock, Dick Bartley's original rock and roll oldie show on the original oldie station, 98 WTRY.
The other night,
Set your radio at 980 for music 24 hours a day from the oldie station, 98 WTRY. Here are the Bee Gees, just gotta get a message to you, 1968. The oldie station, 98 WTRY, celebrating 50 years. Billy Joe Royal and Cherry Hill Park back in 69. 68 music before that, I Gotta Get a Message to You. And Tommy Edwards, 10 years before that, in 1958, had a big hit with It's All in the Game. 22 after 8, 8:22 with Chris at 98 WTRY, where we're going to check the great 98 forecast momentarily.
and coffee, not to mention the morning rush hour.
Here's your WTRY Weather Watch 98 forecast. According to, although rain falling heavy again now outside our studios, and 48 degrees at Weather Watch 98 WTRY.
Chris Warren, WTRY. Good morning.
Service of WTRY for the Capital District.
You know, all this talk about recession. I was in Macy's the other day, and somebody better tell those people in Macy's there's a recession going on. I couldn't find a parking space in that place. It was just crazy. So,
and they just expanded it, too.
Yeah,
I mean, there are a lot more places to park.
You got it, but it is tough to park over there. It's really doing great business. And you look around here. I mean, we have a new vending machine in the building, right? We have a new paved driveway and lot. Look at that out. Isn't that nice?
And the hill isn't falling in anymore.
Yes, we're not falling into the Mohawk anymore. And a newly decorated bathroom. And you got to admit, I would hazard a guess at this, that we're the only bathroom in town here at the radio station that has gold records and platinum records on the wall. Hazard a guess at that.
Chris Warren, WTRY, the oldie station.
We got to have something to read. 8:36, Saturday morning with Chris. Has music from the Beach Boys. The oldie station, 98 WTRY. Jay and the Americans back again with She Cried from 1962. And the Beach Boys before that from 64. A little fun on a Saturday morning, 8:41 with Chris at 98 WTRY, the first and official oldie station. Hey, we want to make your Thanksgiving extra special with a free turkey from Super Shop and Save. And all you have to do is listen to 98 WTRY and name that turkey tune with Walt and Sheila in the morning at 7:35 Monday through Friday. Good luck. Happy Thanksgiving from Super Shop and Save and the first and official oldie station, the great 98 WTRY.
For the
Beatles on the first and official oldie station, the great 98 WTRY. Saw her standing there. I didn't even have to say that, did I? I mean, that's such a classic. You really don't have to tell you the name, even the name of the artist, really, when it really comes down to it. But I did, because it's my job. WTRY, the great 98, proud to be the official radio station for the New York Run for 92. Call us right here at 476 WTRY.
Don't forget the film.
Here's the WTRY Weather Watch 98 forecast. 48 degrees at Weather Watch 98 WTRY.
The only station, WTRY.
17 and it's 46 degrees. I'm Nancy Mack for Newswatch 98, a service of WTRY for the Capital District.
We keep dropping. We were in the mid-60s at midnight, and now we're down to 46 and 48. So the high. We might have already had the high for the day.
That's right.
We might have gone right by it on our way down. Well, anyway. 6 minutes after 9 o'clock, and I'm just reading in the paper where the National Council of Teachers of English have awarded President Bush their annual Double Speak Award. Have you seen this? That's pretty good. I guess they cited him saying no new taxes, and then, of course, he raised them, and then he wouldn't call the events in Panama an invasion. Okay, he came up with other euphemisms for it, I guess. We might have an out here, though. You know, this might actually mean something. Maybe he was actually using doublespeak when he asked Dan Quayle to be VP. Maybe. You know, we might be lucky here.
Chris Warren. WTRY, the oldie station.
Well, whatever. The president's a traveling man this weekend over in Europe and Asia and all that good stuff, Middle East. Here's Ricky Nelson with his version.
I'm a traveler. You're still
the first and official oldie station, the great 98 WTRY. Bobby V and the Strangers. Come Back When You Grow Up, Girl, 1967, and Ricky from 61 before that. 9/11 with a Saturday morning underway. That means Chris Warren is hanging from your earlobe until 10 o'clock this morning. Glad to have you as a part of our get-together. Don't forget, tonight, it's Dick Bartley's original rock and roll oldies show with a spotlight on the best of the Lovin' Spoonful. And, of course, all your favorites because you call them in. Toll-free, 1-800-LIVE-GOLD starting at 7 o'clock tonight. It's, of course, Dick Bartley's original rock and roll oldies show on the original oldie station, 98 WTRY. There's nothing else like it in the Capital District, the original oldie station, 98 WTRY. The oldie station, 98 WTRY with Dee Dee Sharp and Mashed Potato Time. A little too early for me, thank you. 62 gold music and 58 for the Teddy Bears. To know him is to love him. We'll get back into a more recent decade momentarily. Got the grassroots from the 60s coming up in just a bit at 98 WTRY. Also check Bob Kovacic's weekend weather forecast next. Oh, those are good. Yeah, WTRY Weather Watch 98. Right now, 46 and rain at Weather Watch 98 WTRY.
Chris Warren. WTRY. Good morning.
A service of WTRY for the Capital District.
Well, the president for about 8 days, I guess, has left recession-worried America behind. But, you know, Dan Quayle has come up with a money-making idea. He gave it to his boss.
Oh, good.
Yeah. He said, he says, you know, if you do this, maybe you'll make some money and, you know, you can throw some back in the treasury. But I don't know. How many George Bush Mideast Tour 90 T-shirts do you think he can sell in Saudi Arabia? Huh? I mean, will it really add up? I mean,
Chris Warren. WTRY, the oldie station.
I think Dan's gone to one too many rock concerts, is what I think. 22 and a half now before 10 o'clock. It's a Saturday morning with Chris, and I'm just making you groan till 10 o'clock. Here's the Beach Boys from 1965. Good stuff. First an official oldie station, Great 98 WTRY. What a great song. Lenny Welch, a great version, Since I Fell For You, going back to 1963. 65 for the Beach Boys before that with California Girls. Be a nice place to be today as the rain continues to fall. 46 degrees. Bob Kovacic's weekend weather forecast says it'll clear up, but it'll stay cool. We'll have that for you in a few moments at 98 WTRY.
The Florida Orange Growers present
Beatles on the oldie station, 98 WTRY from, of course, Sgt. Pepper's When I'm 64 on the oldie station, 98. We're about 7 before 10 o'clock. Going to take my leave and leave with it here in a few moments, and we'll catch you in actually about 3 weeks. We're off the next couple of weeks. We'll be away for Thanksgiving. Make sure you and your family have a nice, safe, happy one. We'll be over on Cape Cod for that. And then we got some business to take care of the next weekend as well. We'll be down in D.C., so we'll see you the weekend after that, sometime in early December, okay? And you take it nice and slow and easy, and J.C. Hayes is coming up next.
Every day.